Canada just made a major move with China, and most Canadians don't even realize how big this deal is. On one side, cheaper electric vehicles, farmers getting relief, and billions in trade coming back. On the other side, fears about Canadian jobs, U.S. relations, and long-term risks. So here's the question you need to ask yourself. Is this a smart economic reset for Canada, or a short-term deal that could cost us more in the future? Today, we're breaking down the Canada-China tariff deal, how it happened, what was agreed, who benefits, who loses, and why this deal is already causing political tension. Watch closely till end, because this deal affects farmers, workers, EV buyers, and every Canadian paying for the cost of living.
And so I'm pleased today to announce that Canada and China have reached a preliminary but landmark trade agreement to remove trade barriers and reduce tariffs.
Do you ever think how Canada and China met and closed the deal? This deal did not happen overnight. After months of trade tension, retaliatory tariffs, and quiet back-channel talks, Canadian and Chinese officials met during high-level diplomatic visits and trade negotiations. Canada was under pressure. China was under pressure, too. Canada had imposed 100% tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles to align with U.S. policy. China hit back hard, slapping up to 80% plus tariffs on Canadian canola, seafood, and agricultural products. Exports collapsed, farmers suffered, both economies felt the pain. So both sides sat down, negotiated, and agreed to de-escalate. The result we got? A trade reset, not a friendship, but a deal. Just think once, what is the tariff deal between Canada and China? Under this agreement, explain everything need to know.
We're returning to the levels of Chinese automobiles as a cap that we had 2 years ago, okay? Secondly, just to reinforce, that's less than 3% of the Canadian auto sector.
Canada agreed to slash tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles from a massive 100% down to approximately 6% to 7%, close to WTO baseline levels. Canada also agreed to allow a limited annual quota, reportedly up to around 45,000 to 50,000 Chinese-made EVs per year, to enter the Canadian market under this lower tariff. In return, China agreed to roll back punitive tariffs on Canadian exports, including canola seed and canola products, seafood like lobster, crab, and shrimp, peas and other agricultural goods. China's tariffs on Canadian canola, which had reached around 80% or more, were cut back to around 10% to 15%, depending on product category. This single change reopens a market worth billions of dollars to Canada. We need to think what big benefits comes with this deal. At the big picture level, this deal is about de-escalation and damage control.
Fundamentally stand up for human rights, we stand up for democracy, territorial integrity, rights to self-determination. We take the world as it is, not as we wish it to be. That means the following. We do engage with countries. We calibrate that engagement depending on our values and our interests, so that engagement is more narrow when there are those issues.
For months, Canada and China were locked in a trade war that was costing billions of dollars on both sides. Exports were blocked, supply chains were disrupted, and workers were paying the price for this thing, not politicians. This deal does three big things. 1. It restores trade flows that had almost collapsed. 2. It reduces cost pressures during a cost of living crisis. 3. It resets a damaged relationship without fully committing to each other. This is not about trust. This is about economic survival and strategic calculation. Both countries decided that continuing the trade war was more damaging than compromise. Benefits for Canada points mentioned. 1. Farmers get immediate relief. Canadian canola farmers lost one of their largest markets due to tariffs as high as 80%, plus with tariffs cut back to around 10% to 15%, Canadian products become competitive again. Stronger demand, more stable farm income, reduced risk of farm failures. 2. Billions in exports can flow again. Before the trade war, Canada exported $3 to $4 billion per year in agricultural goods to China. This deal could recover $2 to $3 billion annually, helping rural economies, ports, and shipping. agri-food workers. 3. Seafood industry gets breathing room. Lobster and crab exporters, especially in Atlantic Canada, were hit hard by Chinese retaliation. Lower tariffs mean export volumes can recover, prices can stabilize. Seasonal workers get more security. 4. Cheaper EV options for Canadians. Cutting EV tariffs from 100% to around 6% makes a huge difference. Chinese EVs are already cheaper to produce. Lower tariffs could mean thousands of dollars in savings per vehicle. For Canadians facing high gas, rent, and grocery costs, this matters. 5. Trade diversification away from the U.S. About 75% of Canada's exports go to the United States. This deal helps Canada reduce over-reliance on a single partner and gives Ottawa more negotiating flexibility in the future. Benefits for China points mentioned. 1. Access to a high-income EV market. Canada is a wealthy, EV-friendly market with strong climate policies. This deal allows Chinese manufacturers to sell up to tens of thousands of EVs per year at low tariff rates. For China, EV exports are a core strategic industry. 2. Expansion of global EV dominance. China is the world's largest EV producer. Entering Canada helps. Scale production, lower unit costs, strengthen global market share. 3. Political and diplomatic leverage. By cutting a deal with Canada, China shows it can negotiate with Western countries despite global tensions. This weakens the idea of a unified Western front against China's trade practices. 4. Securing food supply. China is highly sensitive about food security. Canadian canola and agricultural products are reliable, high quality, and large scale. Lower tariffs help China stabilize food imports and prices. Drawbacks of the deal point mentioned. 1. Pressure on Canadian auto jobs. Cheaper Chinese EVs create intense competition. Canadian and North American manufacturers may face lower sales, factory pressure, potential job losses. 2. Strain on Canada-U.S. relations. The United States has taken a hard line against Chinese EVs. This deal could create trade tensions, complicate North American auto strategy, put Canada in a difficult geopolitical position. 3. Risk of future dependence on China. Canada has been here before. Critics warn that reopening China too quickly could limit Canada's leverage, create future economic pressure, make Canada vulnerable to retaliation. 4. Short-term relief versus long-term strategy. This deal solves today's problem, but it doesn't answer long-term questions about industrial policy, national security, and economic independence. This Canada-China tariff deal may bring short-term relief for farmers, exporters, and consumers, but it also opens the door to serious long-term questions about jobs, trade dependence, and Canada's place in a changing global economy. Whether this turns out to be a smart economic reset or a risky compromise will depend on how Canada manages what comes next. Now, the real question is for you. Do you think this deal strengthens Canada, or does it create new problems down the road? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you want more clear, fact-based breakdowns on Canadian politics and policy, make sure you subscribe to the channel.